take projection.
It's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And we've got a lot to talk about this week in the world of pro wrestling. Money in the Bank was last Saturday, and we're going to jump into that first and get that done, and then we'll cover a few other things here and there afterward, mostly in the world of AEW. So start off men's Money in the Bank match. Thought it was interesting that they actually started the show with the men's ladder match.
Which should have told us probably who was going to win that thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little different outcome than I expected. Was it you or... No, Eddie. My buddy Eddie called Priest winning.
Yeah.
Because we called probably for either LA Knight or... some sort of Logan Paul situation.
Yeah. We're very bad at predictions, I've come to find out.
Yeah.
When it comes to like actually, here's what is going to happen, we're absolutely awful. We got a bad track record on this podcast.
Well, you know, we're not here to be the right.
Yeah, hey, it ain't our job.
It ain't our job.
Yeah.
We don't have money riding on this either.
Yeah. Cut us a check and we'll figure it out for you. I like Damian Priest, though.
Yeah. You know, they've been playing up a little dissent in the Judgment Day faction recently.
Yeah.
So it looks like there will be some sort of situation coming there with him turning face against them. Almost happened. It was Monday night. Finn Balor versus... No, it was during the match. During Money in the Bank, Finn versus Seth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Looked like he almost cashed in then, and the way they played it, it was like, okay, well, maybe he was there to cash in on Seth, but also, like, if Finn would have won, would he have cashed in there?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the Money in the Bank match first. I thought it was a good match. I mean, everybody got their stuff in, like always. It seems now more and more, you know, used to when they first started these Money in the Bank ladder matches, it felt like it had a lot more star power. You know, Edge was in them, CM Punk was in them, all these guys. Now it's like there was LA Knight and Damian Priest and Logan Paul, but like nobody thought Ricochet was going to win. Nobody ever thought Santos Escobar was going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit weird. And I guess those guys are just there, you know, they're athletic. They can do their spots. Obviously, Ricochet and Logan Paul kept their thing going on. I did think it was funny how no one mentioned how dangerous of a move the Logan Paul Ricochet spot was. Nobody had that. You know, they weren't up in arms the way they were with Kenny Omega and Ospreay, and those two are trained professionals who have been doing this for years. Logan Paul, this is his sixth match, and yet not a peep out of anybody about how dangerous that move is, but I digress. I like Damian Priest a lot. And I guess we should probably go ahead and talk and roll this into Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. I kind of feel like, though, if you were going to have Damian Priest win the briefcase, does it not make more sense to have Finn win the title?
Yeah, maybe.
It was kind of, I don't know, it was a little bit odd because it kind of made Finn come off like a doofus. Because it's like, you guys didn't talk about this in case, like, your boy wins the title. What are you going to do? You know, you didn't have a strategy meeting beforehand. And what is, like, Finn lost? Why? Because he was, like, distracted by Damian Priest. So, like, you didn't think he was going to come down? Or he came down on his own volition? Like, how does any of that work?
Yeah, it's a good question. I texted my friend Eddie at one point, probably about mid-show, and I was like, something about this whole production just seems a little weird. It wasn't the fact that Priest won, because I was like, you know, you could kind of see that coming. Obviously, we didn't call it last week because that's not the way we thought it would go. But, you know, you could see the signs were there the last few weeks. But just, you know, with the Cena moment later that we'll get into, and something just felt a little strange. And I don't know if it was, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, was it that I get caught up too much and thinking, okay, well, this is what they're going to do next. And when they don't, I'm like, okay, well, that was dumb. But I don't think that was it. I just felt like, I thought the card was really good, and we talked about that last week, but I just don't know that the payoff was there for some of the matches like I thought there would be.
Well, I thought the men's Money in the Bank was good. I thought the women's Money in the Bank was, I would say it was better. Certainly had a better finish, more creative finish. Seth and Finn was it was okay. It was a decent wrestling match. And the main event, the Bloodline Civil War, which we'll talk about, I thought was absolutely brilliant. The crowd, of course, with it being in the UK, they're always hyped. They kept the thing going throughout the whole time. So, I don't know. When I was watching, I didn't feel like it was weird or off at all. It definitely had its lulls. John Cena coming out and doing a 20-minute promo with Grayson Waller in the middle seemed a little bit weird. Clearly that's to put pressure on the government to bid on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Which, what a fucking flex by WWE just to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Just be like, oh, we're in your backyard. We want to have a WrestleMania here, but obviously, since they switched to the Olympic method where cities have to bid, or cities bid on having WrestleMania, for WWE just to be like, we're going to bring our biggest star of the modern era. He's going to come out as a surprise.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming.
And he's just going to basically be like, hey, fuck you, the people want this, so let's make it happen. Is kind of wild.
I thought it was kind of a nod, almost a nod to AEW going over there and damn near already selling out Wembley. Like,
well, obviously there's that too.
They're like, okay, well, we can do this shit too.
Yeah. And by the way, they can.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's doubting that.
And they probably will. And a WrestleMania in London would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I like the Saturday afternoon stuff quite a bit. It's a cool little break from what it usually is, but no, I didn't feel like it was weird at all. I mean, it just felt like a WWE pay-per-view. You get some really good, you get some meh, and then a lot of it is just decent and okay.
Speaking of meh, Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler match is up next. Did anybody see that coming? The twist with Baszler turning on her? Kind of makes sense now because apparently the news has come out this week that Rousey's contract is up sooner rather than later.
I mean, we had speculated that at some point this was the feud for Ronda to have against Shayna. I don't watch Ronda Rousey segments that closely. Were there any breadcrumbs at all leading up to this? It was just straight up, she hit her in the back of the head.
Yeah, kind of like Jungle Boy turning on Hook.
So, I mean, cool. It was fine.
I've always, I say always, I've been meh on Shayna as well ever since she came up from NXT, but like, she gave a really good promo on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I might could invest in this a little bit because it was, I don't know, it felt genuine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, I don't know, I didn't expect it out of her, so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll be a little invested in this now, whereas before I was like, I could care less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was an interesting moment, I guess. Kind of a what the hell moment because nobody was anticipating. You can see those coming sometimes from a mile away, and you're just waiting on it.
Well, usually, like I said, you want to plant the breadcrumbs a little bit. The Damian Priest is a good example. Like, sure. we didn't call it, but in retrospect, you'd be like, oh yeah, makes sense. Like there was nothing for Shayna and Ronda. They just won the titles, and then they're in the middle of this match. They weren't even like in a pivotal spot in the match. They were just kind of having it. Yeah. And then Shayna's like, fuck you, I'm gonna hit you in the back of the head.
I'm out.
Yeah, and walked out. So, I mean, hey, the titles go back on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. An odd pairing, but two people who I think can be over with the crowd. Those tag titles are kind of just a little bit meaningless, but, I don't know. Maybe there's change of plans coming. Obviously Shayna and Ronda could be interesting. Could also not be, There's always that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Shayna's going to have to carry that because Rousey is just, she does not move the needle at all for me.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither.
She's just bland and boring and looks disinterested.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe it's time for her to go. Maybe if these dirt sheets are right and she's on the way out, then maybe it's time.
So next up, I've got Matt Riddle versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Riddle tapped out to Gunther, and then maybe I guess you would call it the second surprise of the day. Drew McIntyre is back. And so he and Gunther square off, and Drew hits him with the Claymore at the end. This is where I get pissed off about things, was a couple of dirt sheets that morning when they were like, hey, there's scuttlebutt or whatever about Drew McIntyre being back. Don't put that out there. There's absolutely no need to have that on social media. What good does it do you and your brand to be the one that pisses somebody like me off on a Saturday morning? I'm like, I would have gotten a much bigger pop from me had Drew walked out and I hadn't seen his name on the internet that morning.
And see, I stayed off the internet. I don't know, these dirt sheets. Whatever. Like, I'm so bored by them. I'm so disinterested because I'm not one of the wrestling fans that want to be in the know all the time. I just kind of want to watch the show and be swept away in a story. I don't think that's too much to ask for anything that's a narrative form of entertainment. But for some reason, and a lot of people have made a lot of money off of it, and a lot of wrestling fans want to know every little thing that happens. And these dirt sheets like to make up things, or maybe they don't make up things. Who the hell knows? I just know. Fucking Gunther versus Drew McIntyre, long feud, sign me up. I'm all for it. Gunther's incredible. I mean, he's the only guy that when he's on Monday nights or Friday nights, whenever the fuck he's on, I think he's on Mondays, I stop the show and I watch every one of his segments. I watch every one of the matches. I'm infatuated with this dude. He is such a throwback to like when wrestling felt real, quote unquote real, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word. Like, and again, having an entire offense that's built around a chop,
yeah, when
everyone knows what that feels like, is such a genius move, and he pulls it off so well. He's in the running for me for best wrestler in the world. We've talked about this before. The confines that he sort of has to play in, being in that WWE style, he has maximized every single element of it. And it's captivating to watch. This fucking match, he chopped Matt Riddle's ankle, okay? And it felt believable. You're like, oh yeah, I bet that shit hurts.
Yeah.
It's just, it's wild. Also, I do want to point this out. Somebody had a TikTok from behind Gunther's entrance where the other dude fucking catches the thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of ruined it for me. Somebody even commented, it was like seeing a magic trick from like another angle. Because like his entrance where he throws off the coat and it just wraps around the dude's arm, like so great. But like seeing the behind, I was like, I don't want to see this. I don't want Gunther to be special to me. I wanted to just feel like he takes the coat off and it flies in the air for a little bit and dude catches it. Like that's how I want it to be. But that's a little bit of a tangent. But no, Gunther he's incredible. The question for Gunther is going to be, when do they move him up to the main event scene?
Well, so if they have a feud with he and Drew, does he beat Drew for a couple times, or does Drew eventually get that title? And is that a demotion almost for Drew?
I mean, is it a demotion? Gunther's been really the most dominant champion. I know Roman Reigns is on his 1,000-day streak, but Roman has had the bloodline do a lot of his heavy lifting.
Sure.
Gunther's, for the most part, beating these dudes clean. And so if you want to, like, get real in the weeds with it, like, who has the most prestigious title?
Yeah. Maybe he's elevated the title.
Yeah. To where you get a dude like Drew McIntyre, who not that long ago was main event in WrestleMania. So.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of dirt sheets, I saw conflicting reports on had he re-signed with them, and he did for, several more years, and then there was somebody else that was like, no, he didn't sign, and I'm like, I just need to fucking unsubscribe.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna be a kayfabe only fan. The show starts and ends for me during the broadcast, and that's it. Wrestling's gonna. I'm gonna make it a note to myself. Wrestling's gonna be real again. It's still real to me. Damn it. I'm not. No more dirt sheets. This is it. I'm kayfabe only. Fucking Malachi Black actually is a demon sorcerer. Okay. Gunther is a fucking badass Eastern European guy. You know, The Undertaker is a real dead mortician or whatever the fuck. Roman Reigns is an actual mafia boss who hates his cousins. Right. Wrestling's real to me again. That's how I'm gonna have it.
I think that's what I need to do. I think there's a couple I follow on Facebook. I'm just like, I just need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
All it does is piss me off.
Well, it's like so, to me, it's like so uninteresting. Because nobody's given any like good takes about wrestling or about the stories. They're all just like, you'll never believe who re-signed. You'll never believe who's at Monday Night Raw. It's like, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a rant. We've ranted about the shitty Bleacher Report app during AEW pay-per-views before, but of all times for Twitter to just completely shit the bed was right smack dab in the middle of Money in the Bank. Did you notice that?
I saw people tweeting about it. Yeah.
That was right when all the quote-unquote rate limits were instituted, and apparently what happened was they didn't pay their fucking Google bill, is what I kept reading later.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Was that, they didn't pay one of their bills, and they were getting fucking throttled or something. I don't know how any of that shit works.
No.
So yeah, it was just a clusterfuck, and I love being on Twitter in the middle of these things and getting reactions.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a clusterfuck. So, fuck you, Elon. You ruined that part of the day. Next was Cody and Dominic. Not exactly what we called either.
No, a little disappointed.
Yeah.
But I'll say, fucking Cody in WWE, he just works, man. The whole thing works. The entrance, the fucking pyro. He has really what is the best wrestling entrance song of all time, because it was like engineered to be that. It has literally everything.
Yeah.
Right? It has wrestling has more than one royal family, right? Which is like equivalent to like a stone cold glass break.
Yep.
Where like you hear that and you can look at your buddies and be like, oh shit, it's Cody. And then it has the intro with the drums, right? That gives you time to like fucking everybody get hyped. And then you get the pyro, and then the words start, right? He comes down, he fucking, shaking hands, kissing babies. It has the sing-along part, the whoa. He fucking takes his belt off, gives it to a kid. The fucking kid's in the front row's crying because damn, the hero just walked down. It has another fucking whoa. It's got more pyro. Like it is.
It's got a Dusty shout out.
It's got everything. It has literally everything to be the best wrestling song of all time. And that, to me, honestly, like, I think I would put it up there. I've always talked about the Stone Cold thing. People, the glass break, that's the best one. The Stone Cold song, very repetitive.
Yeah, it's just dun 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 dun.
That's
dun,
all
dun.
it is. The Rock, same thing. Very repetitive. I thought John Cena horns, the entrance is the best song ever. I think it is now taking a backseat to Kingdom by Cody Rhodes. It's engineered to be the best thing ever, and it might be damn if it doesn't work.
Something, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, you don't even have to fuck, but this thing, you don't have to know the words. You can just go, whoa! That's all you have to do. You can be completely shit-faced when you do it, No matter your level of inebriation, everybody can sing whoa. And you throw your hands up.
Even my wife Jamie jumped in on the whoa the other day.
Yeah. It's so good. He is. Yeah, I talk about sports a lot of the time on this podcast, but like, he was just like a basketball. In AEW, he was a basketball player that didn't fit in the system, right? Sometimes shit happens, okay? He's a 3-and-D guy. He's a space dude, and they're trying to run the triangle, whatever kind of, sports metaphor you want to use. He comes over to WWE. It fits like a glove. It all works. Everything works. He's fantastic.
So without spending too much time on it, since he basically built himself up over the indies several years after he left WWE, like, how did he make that work then? Like, was he doing a different style then? Because I wasn't watching. I have no idea. I just know that he basically went back out on the indies and made a name for himself, which is how he became an EVP at AEW.
Well, yeah, he leaves WWE as the Stardust character, right? Goofy face paint, the fucking glittering onesie he had to wear. And yeah, he basically goes to the indies and reinvents himself. And again, keep in mind, he didn't come from the indies, right? He signed very young to WWE and came up through that entire system. So as he goes to the indies, it's kind of like, figuring out how to play a different style of music, really. And so he does all these matches. He fucking goes over to Rev Pro. He wrestles a Will Ospreay. He goes to New Japan. He goes to Ring of Honor. He's getting time in the ring with all these different guys who have different ways of doing pro wrestling, right? Because there's a lot of different styles. And he kind of molds himself and creates this new version of himself. And then, he goes to AEW, and, I'm still would be interested to hear what exactly was the final straw that made Cody leave AEW. And I'm sure at some point our boy Conrad will have that fucking podcast, right, where Cody spills all the beans, right? But then he goes to WWE, and he comes back really as this completely different version of himself.
Yeah,
that has, he has all these different styles he can do now. And sometimes you have to kind of go away for people to miss you on that stage, and also to just like get better. That's one of the fears that I have about, Triple H and the WWE being like, oh, we don't really want to sign a lot of independent wrestlers anymore because they quote unquote have bad habits. Which I think, honestly, if you think about wrestling as an art form, which I think you and I do, are there really bad habits in art? There's just different ways to do art.
Yeah, what they're saying is they don't want to take somebody from the very beginning and make them into what they want them to be.
Yeah, they want to have that unsculpted clay that they can then mold into whatever they want. But my fear is that in 10 years, that's going to get very stale because you're going to have everybody doing the same way, right? Mm-hmm. If you have one guitar teacher who is teaching all the other guitarists in the world how to play guitar, everyone's going to end up sounding the same.
Yeah.
Whereas you take an indie wrestler and they might have some bad habits or some things you don't, quote unquote bad habits, things you don't want them to do in your style. But I think you look at a guy like Cody Rhodes, who he leaves WWE, comes back years later. He's better in the ring. He's better on the microphone. A lot of that is because he went away.
Yeah.
And went on his, odyssey.
Got to do his own thing for a while.
Yeah, wanted to do his own thing.
So back to the match with he and Dom, we had predicted Dom would cheat when, maybe Brock would get involved, and then there'd be I pinned Cody shirts and everything. But
I think a missed opportunity.
Yeah, we say it a lot
because
but if we were writing it.
Yeah, they did Brock on Monday night.
Yeah.
Does Brock just not want to fly to London? Is that all it was? Could be as simple as that.
Could be.
But why not let Dom have a little bit of a rub here? And get the pin on Cody after fucking Brock comes in and mauls him.
Yeah.
Then you get Dominic. Now he's a heel that's on top of the world because he pinned the biggest star in the company.
Definitely a missed opportunity there.
Yeah, I think so.
We mentioned earlier Cena came out, complete shock. He was talking about bringing WrestleMania to London. Grayson Waller comes out. He said that Mania needs to come to Australia. Then he ambushes Cena, and Cena slams him and leaves. So it's way too long of a segment.
Yeah, I thought it was way too long.
Killed any sort of momentum that they had, right? But yeah, cool. We mentioned it earlier. They're more than likely going to end up in London a couple of years from now for Mania, right?
Yeah, the whole point of it was to try to put pressure on the government. Like I said, what a flex. What a flex to be able to do that.
Do it, I guess, right?
If you can, fuck it. Why not?
Then the women's Money in the Bank match was next. Did you catch? I didn't catch it. I think our friend Steven texted me and was like, did you notice that they introduced Bailey as a member of Judgment Day?
I did see that, yeah. And then I saw all the memes of people putting fucking Bailey in the Judgment Day. Just, cut and paste.
I totally missed it. And I didn't want to rewind it to catch it. But so Zelina hit the code red on Zoe Stark from the top of the ladder. That shit was fucking insane.
Insane. Great spot.
I didn't write out many moments from the matches, but I typed that one out. I was like, that shit was fucking wild. And where did she come from all of a sudden? Zelina Vega was nothing to me 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And then she put on a hell of a match in Puerto Rico, I thought. And then that fucking spot the other night was badass.
Look, there's something to say that all the people that we said showed out in Puerto Rico, Damian Priest, Io Sky, Selena Vega had a huge spot in this match. And fucking Io and Damian are Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
So I guess it matters.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier creative way to end this one. Bailey and Becky are climbing up the ladder, and Io grabs the handcuffs. I think that Bailey had tried to use on Becky.
Yeah.
And cuffed both of their arms together through the ladder, so neither one of them could go any higher than what they were. I thought that was pretty smart.
A little on the nose metaphor, if you ask me, but I'm down for it. The two stars of their generation literally being overtaken by a new star who's ascending to a height. But I'm down for it. I thought it was cool. Create a finish. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, neither of us called her winning.
No.
Either.
Now the question is, who the hell does she go up against?
Yeah, because you're not taking it off Rhea this quick.
I wouldn't think so, but also Rhea's not doing anything with the title. As much as we both love Rhea Ripley, what is she doing with that title right now? I mean, her and Natalya had a hell of a match Monday Night Raw, which I don't think we'll have time to get into, but what a match that was.
Yeah.
So I don't know, looks like Asuka is going to be involved with Becky and Charlotte. That's going to be some kind of three-way there. Technically, Io Sky doesn't have to cash in anytime soon. She can kind of wait till the dust settles with all this stuff and then, come in and cash in last minute. I think somebody else said this on a podcast. She's already the second or third longest reigning Miss Money in the Bank.
I saw that somewhere too. Apparently, the women cash in a lot quicker.
Yeah. So, let her have it for a little bit and also let her decorate the briefcase. Yeah. I missed when people used to decorate briefcases. Yeah. Let her get some stuff on it and some stickers maybe. Change the paint. Whatever she wants to do.
Different color.
But I love Io Sky. I mean, she is absolutely fantastic. The Genius of the Sky nickname fits her so well. I love that she cuts promos in a different language.
Yeah.
Because like we talk about all the time, it is called World Wrestling Entertainment. The more world you can bring into it, I think the better. So yeah, I was super pleased with this match. Thought it was cool. It lets the Becky and the Trish stuff keep going. Zoe Stark had a good showing. Like you said, Selena Vega had a huge spot. So yeah, kudos to everybody all the way around.
Yeah, good stuff there. Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins was next. We mentioned earlier that Priest came out with the briefcase and kind of interfered a little bit, if you will, and then Rollins wins. There was a moment where I thought they might switch it to Finn, but I was like, they didn't let it happen. So, that was a good match.
It felt way rushed.
Yeah.
And this came right after John. Did it come after John Cena?
No, it was after the women's. Yeah, because I typed them out in order.
Okay, so yeah, it felt rushed. I mean, both of these guys are great. Like I said before, I think it makes more narrative sense, or at least it's more narratively interesting, if Finn has the title and the dude that's holding the Money in the Bank is in his own faction. It's supposedly his friend. Because right now, where's the dissension amongst the Judgment Day? Unless it's just, hey, you cost me a title match. But then again, it makes Finn look like a dumbass because why did you guys not talk about what was going to happen?
Right.
And also with the bloodline blowing up the way it has, Judgment Day now has a lane to kind of run in as the dominant faction in the WWE. And so I just think it'd be cool if Finn was like, because then Finn can have the title and be like, hey, I'm the title. I'm the World Heavyweight Champion. Rhea's the women's champion. If you had Dominic beat Cody, you can say Dominic just beat Cody Rhodes. And Damian Priest is going to cash in. And he might beat Roman Reigns. He might beat Gunther. He might fucking beat Austin Theory. Judgment Day might run both shows. But now you don't have any of that.
Yeah. Yeah, good
Even
point.
though in those situations we know, hey, Damian's not going to cash in on Roman. Damian's not going to cash in for a secondary title. It's going to be the World Heavyweight title. But now you can play that up as, Damian can kind of act like he's going along with it. But then in the back of his head, in the back of our heads too, we know, oh, he's going to be gunning for Finn's title.
Yeah.
But now I don't know where they go with that.
Well, let's spend a little time with the Usos versus Roman and Solo. Wild finish, I thought.
We are going to be sad when this ends. Let me just say that right now. It is going to be such a bummer when this story comes to an end, because there's going to be no more, we won't have it left. It's been such a highlight watching this story unfold since we've been doing this podcast. And we probably still have, in terms of where Roman falls in the WWE Mount Rushmore, I think we still have some things to kind of litigate out. Is he better than John Cena? I personally do think he's better than John Cena, but, that could be up for debate. What I don't think is up for debate anymore, Roman Reigns is the best heel of all time. He's the greatest villain in wrestling history. He's better than Flair, okay? Because for Flair's thing, Flair, dirtiest player in the game, right? Probably the most well-known heel in wrestling. There was a lot of the fan base that still loved Ric Flair. You go back and watch some old school 80s WCW, there's a lot of fucking young yuppie dudes in that crowd that are wearing suits, that are throwing up the fours. He was beloved, right? I think then you look at a guy like Vince McMahon, okay? Vince McMahon, I probably do think is, up until Roman, was the best villain in wrestling history. But there was no emotional depth there to Vince, right? No, he just he was the
boss.
He was the billionaire boss going up against the blue collar worker who was trying to usurp authority. Like, classic story, but there's no there, right?
Right.
2009 Randy Orton, fucking love his run, just as a psychopath, right? Completely bald head, but again, no emotional depth there. What Roman is giving you is, cue up the Martin Scorsese meme. This motherfucker's giving you cinema, okay? He's giving you Scorsese. He's giving you fucking Steinbeck. He's giving you all of these fucking, everything good about literature, cinema. It's all in Roman's face. He's the only top guy ever that can convey so much with just a facial expression. It is kind of unparalleled at this point. And that's why I think I talked about a couple weeks ago, to me, he's the greatest character too in wrestling, just because he goes against so many of the norms, right? He's insecure. That's insecurity has never been a thing that any wrestler has ever portrayed. Because honestly, deep down, what is Roman's sort of psyche? He's a dude that wants to be loved. And what's even crazier to think about is that if you take the Roman Reigns minus this tribal chief character part of his gimmick, he probably goes down as the biggest failure in wrestling history. He was pushed down the fans' throat. The fans routinely said, this is not our guy. He was supposed to be beloved. They booed the shit out of him. He comes back as this tribal chief character, and he flips all of that on his head. How many wrestlers have ever stood in a ring and 17,000 fans have chanted fuck you?
Right.
Very rarely has it happen. Also, you want to talk about when we mentioned this last week too, the fact that he elevates guys. I mean, let's go back. Let's just start talking about the top guys. John Cena, during his run atop the card, who did he really elevate? He had a feud with Randy Orton. He didn't elevate Randy Orton. Randy Orton is probably the most can't miss blue collar or blue chip prospect the wrestling business has ever seen. Okay, second generation superstar, 6'4", fucking handsome as shit. John Cena ain't doing it. Randy was going to be great regardless of who he worked with.
Right.
Edge was already great, was already in that main event level scene when he started working with John Cena. Look at a dude like The Rock. Who did The Rock elevate? Well, fucking nobody, because he's working across Stone Cold Steve Austin. Both of these two dudes are the biggest stars the industry's ever seen. Ric Flair, you can make an argument. He elevated guys. Ricky Steamboat, Sting, probably the two most famous examples. Roman Reigns is cut from that same cloth. Roman is not wrong when he looks at Jimmy and Jay and says, before you guys started working with me, nobody could tell you apart.
I didn't give two shits. I said this last week. I didn't give two shits about the Usos or anything they did before the storyline.
And now you can make an argument Jay Uso is a top, what is he, the number 4 babyface in the WWE?
Oh, really?
I mean, you have to say, like, he's behind Cody, he's behind Seth, and he's behind Sammy, but after that, it's probably him, right?
Yeah. Probably.
And again, it's because he's working with Roman Reigns. He's working with the biggest villain in wrestling history. Also, Sami Zayn. Sammy was a comedy act.
Yeah.
Before he worked
last year
Bloodline.
WrestleMania versus the Jackass cast.
Yeah, and he gets embroiled in this feud in this Bloodline story. And he's one of the biggest baby faces in the company. So like, there's just so much about Roman, and you know, I could go on and on about this dude, but like, he's so good, and I just want us all to realize like how special this thing is that we're watching, because I don't know if you could replicate this.
So did you see it going down the way it went down with Jay getting the pin at the end?
Well, I mean, we talked about last week that we think Roman and Solo are going to win, but like, that's just because we need to advance the story forward. But like, no, if there's going to be a guy that pins Roman, it's going to be Jay.
Yeah. I was in utter disbelief, and my wife was even more so. She got, this was probably the most intense I've seen her watch a wrestling match. You know, this storyline is what got her in, and then the Judgment Day kept her into watching wrestling with me, or at least Monday night. She usually watches Monday Night Raw, and then the pay-per-views. But she was yelling and screaming. She was going fucking wild the other day.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And you even have the little moments, right? Like, now you can kind of see how this is going to play out. Because Roman and Solo hit those combo double team moves. I think Jay on what it was. Roman goes to pin Jay. 1, 2, 2.99. Jay kicks out. Roman emotionally just loses it, right? Then you have that beautiful moment where Solo is just looking at Roman being like, the fuck, like, get back in this shit. What the fuck is your problem? Sowing a little bit of tension between those two guys, because Roman is all the way emotional. Solo has no emotions, right? Solo is a machine. He is on a mission to destroy things that are in front of him. And so now you're setting up this little thing. We've also seen where like Jimmy and Jay are like, hey, if we have a vote to be tribal chief, we're voting for Solo. Now you put it in Solo's head. Hey, maybe I am the dude. Maybe I should be the tribal chief, because maybe you're emotionally not all the way there anymore to be able to handle this. Solo is going to protect one thing, and that's the family legacy. So you have that feud that sets up between those two guys. You obviously have all the history between Roman and Jay. Roman's tribal chief character really took off after he beat the ever-living shit out of Jay, right? So, like, these 4 guys, and everybody that's involved, Paul Heyman too. Paul Heyman has his part to play in this. It's just...
Did you see the pre-show interview with Paul?
I didn't know.
So, you were kind of unresponsive, so I figured you were doing some family stuff or something. So I just quit texting you that day, but like at maybe 10 till 2, Heyman comes out of the dressing room, you know, and I forgot which person was back there, tried to catch an interview. He's got tears in his eyes, you know, and they were like, "What's wrong, Paul? What's wrong?" He just stands there for several seconds, tears welling up, and he's just shaking his head, and he's like, "I've never seen him like this."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Because normally, you know, Paul's just going to be Paul.
Yeah.
But this was like a different Paul. He was like, I've never seen him like this. He's like, I feel bad for anybody that has to watch what's going to happen to the Usos tonight. Because he's like, he's going to hurt them.
And so now this sets up even beautifully, because now we're going to get all the way unhinged Roman Reigns. Like, you thought this motherfucker was a villain before.
Yeah, I mean, that's what that if you didn't see that, I just happened to tune in to the pre-show about 15, 20 minutes before and saw it. And I was like, well, shit, this was major.
Yeah, and so you have to do Jay versus Roman at SummerSlam. That's got to be the main event. What else could even headline a show that size?
Yeah.
There's nothing touching this in terms of story in the WWE right now, and really in all of wrestling. I mean, this is in a class of its own with how well this thing has gone. So yeah, I watched the whole match, and one of the things I think for wrestling fans, there's so much tribalism between like AEW and WWE, right? People be like, oh, AEW sucks because they don't tell stories. Oh, WWE sucks because the in-ring action is whatever. Like, to me, that's a really stupid argument. I think I've made this comparison before. It's kind of like trying to compare like Miles Davis to Metallica. You're like, yeah, they're both music, but they're obviously trying to do different things, right? In WWE, the matches advance the story. In AEW, the matches often become the story. It's not that one is inherently better than the other. It's just that they're different, right? Omega Ospreay is good for what it is because it's a athletic feat. These dudes are doing moves and having a pro wrestling match like we've never seen before. And then on the other side, WWE, they're doing Shakespeare in the ring,
Samoan Shakespeare.
Yeah,
we called it a few weeks ago.
I just wish fans had more appreciation for like the different ways that you can do this art form, because you can do it a multitude of different ways. It's just that for the longest, there has been one dude in Vince McMahon who has basically got to, based off his creations, it has come down to the fans like, this is what wrestling is supposed to be. This is how it looks. And it's brainwashed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think you can just do it different ways. So, shout out to wrestling being so good right now, because it's as good as it's ever been.
Yeah, you made a similar comment last week on the show. Let's do some quick hitters. We've got a lot of different things to kind of go through with AEW and not a lot of time to do it. Collision, I've got apparently Ethan Page is a face all of a sudden. Comes out because MJF, basically squashed somebody, and it's like, I'm here for another match or whatever. Ethan Page comes out, or he's challenging somebody from that town.
Yeah. And
Ethan Page came out.
Yeah. Well, there was another jobber that walked out.
Yeah.
And then Ethan Page walked out.
I didn't put that part. Yeah. So that was interesting. I mean, we talked about Ethan Page a lot a few months ago, and then they just kind of did nothing with him. But I mean, he gave a hell of a promo that night. I'm interested to see if they just forget about this part of the story, and then all of a sudden he's back.
Yeah.
Doing the bidding of the Hardys again or whatever.
Yeah. Our boy MJF's going to need a break.
Yeah.
He's getting that Orange Cassidy schedule going on now. The motherfuckers wrestled, 3 weeks in a row? Can't do this to the champ. The cat is at home being lost. Did you see that on Twitter? He posted, like, you guys are making me work so much. Like, my cat is missing me. And it was just a picture of him hugging his cat. Just brilliant
Jesus
stuff
Christ.
by MJF. Yeah.
And then you had asked last week about the guns being part of Bullet Club Gold. It looks like that's official.
I thought it was already official. That's why I was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, now they're making it official, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. If wrestling history has taught you anything, it's that, like, if a bunch of dudes in the ring in the show and they all do like the same hand gesture, they're part of a team now. That's how that works. You don't have to like say it again, but
right.
I guess they just said it again. So,
and then Ricky Starks got the win over Juice Robinson to advance in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. So it looks like, unless something crazier happens, it looks like it'll be Punk versus Ricky Starks for the winner, to be the winner of the Owen Hart tournament.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Should be fun. Yeah. Because people at first were like Punk and Joe, but then when you look at the brackets, you're like, well, they're in the same bracket.
Yeah,
so,
that's happening this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good match. And then Dynamite, they teased Nick Wayne turning 18 with an interesting segment with Darby Allin and his backstory. And then they announced at the end of the show that he'll face Swerve Strickland next week on Dynamite, which will be fun, I think. Apparently they've wrestled before.
Yeah.
Like
This year.
Yeah. So when? Okay, I was going to ask when that would have been.
Yeah, it was. I think it was for an organization called Defy,
Okay.
which is in Washington, which is I believe is where both Nick Wayne and Swerve are from.
Yeah, I knew Swerve was from up because he and Darby had a history.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I saw the Swerve versus Nick Wayne match.
Okay.
Very smart move to have a package like this that introduces a character and have it be, told by a dude who was already a beloved character on the show.
Yeah. Because
Very
otherwise
smart
you're
move.
just throwing him to the wolves.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've not seen this kid cut a promo, but he's fucking 18. He's probably not going to be good at cutting promos.
Right.
There's a lot of dudes who have been doing wrestling for a long time who still suck at promos.
Right. He's good as shit in the ring, but he might be terrible with a mic. I don't know.
I mean, he reminds me, and I've said this before, of a very young Will Ospreay. So, like we said, if AEW can't sign Will Ospreay, maybe they already have Will Ospreay on the roster,
Give him a couple years.
Except he's 12 years younger, yeah.
Interesting segment with MJF and Adam Cole last night.
So MJF and Adam Cole, I guess, are already a top 5 tag team of all time. They are. I didn't know what the fuck they were gonna do. I'm so down for this. I hope it keeps going.
I did laugh my ass off when Cole is doing his entrance and he got to the center of the ring and fucking MJF's running circles around him.
Not just that, but just the fact that MJF had his mannerisms down.
Yeah.
Right? They both do the boom at the same time. It's just... And listen, we've said this before. The fans want so desperately to fucking cheer for MJF because he is so good at everything he does. And I don't know when this dude's going to turn babyface, but when it happens, get ready. Because it's going to be unlike a lot of stuff that we've ever seen. Because it's just... The dude has... He has everything, okay? He can go in the ring. He's fucking... Wednesday night, he's fighting from underneath. Like he's fucking... Carrie Gilbert from fucking Rock and Roll Express, right? Waiting to give the hot tag to fucking Ricky Morton. Like MJF and Adam Cole do some Rock and Roll Express type shit. Fighting from underneath. The crowd's fucking chanting for him. He's just great. Adam Cole's great. I don't know where they go with this story. I don't know if they headline... Did they headline Wembley? Do they headline All Out? I don't know what happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, I mean, they're going to have another match. MJF's going to turn on him. That's how it's going to go. Or maybe Adam Cole is smart enough to realize MJF's full of shit and he turns on him first, But the little skit they did where they were working out and MJF is making fun of the dude. What does he say? When he goes to the dry cleaners, they're like, we don't clean curtains.
Don't do curtains.
And you saw Adam Cole, if you go back and watch it, he's breaking just a little bit. Because, it's just, there's no way. MJF did all the, corny shit that every babyface has ever tried to do, but somehow he just pulls it all off. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was, I thought they did a good job with that little segment of them working out. It needed something besides just them getting in a truck together or whatever.
And we've said this all the time, man. When you go back and think about your favorite moments in wrestling, a lot of them don't happen inside the ring. A lot of it is like Austin coming down with the beer truck, Angle coming down with the milk truck, the fucking, what is it, the This Is Your Life segment with Mick Foley and The Rock. A lot of it is that kind of shit.
Yeah. And
AEW should do more of that. And maybe as more people have come into the creative room in AEW, we'll see more of this. Because, I mean, honestly, that was the highlight of the night Wednesday. We got all this amazing wrestling, and you and I have spent the most time talking about fucking MJF and Adam Cole being a tag team partner and doing the fake little workout stuff together.
Yeah, at first I was like, what's the point of this? And then it was even more so when they made Swerve and Keith Lee be in a tag team again last night. I was like, what are they doing here?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Has Keith ever got his retribution on Swerve?
No.
And
I don't think so.
I was looking last night when they were running the old replays. That shit happened in December.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Because he was out for several months.
It's been so long that, one of the motherfuckers there don't work there no more. Trench has gone.
Yeah,
he's come and gone.
Yeah.
And Keith Lee has still not got his comeuppance on Swerve. Yeah. Again, just like fall by the wayside. Swerve also, like, the dude's got money written all over him.
Yeah.
He's gonna be a star. He is a star. But like, I don't know. If I got the pencil, that dude is in the same echelon as like a John Moxley and an MJF for me. I think he's got that much potential. So
yeah,
we'll
we've talked about him in length before on the show.
There's never been a hip hop supervillain before. It's never happened, and he's the one dude who can have it. And like, also, if we get Swerve as AEW World Champion, that automatically means we probably get more Rick Ross in AEW. And the more Rick Ross we can get in AEW, the fucking better. What does he say? Allegations? False allegations? Classic.
So the last thing that we could touch on, our boy Eddie Kingston won himself a title in New Japan.
I did not watch the match.
I haven't seen it either.
Honestly, did not even realize the match was taking place. But as soon as I saw it on Twitter, and I saw his like celebration with Homicide, it immediately just made me smile. And, you know, talking about things, of course, that we bring up over and over again on this podcast. If there is one dude who has massive babyface appeal in all of wrestling today, WWE, AEW, fucking New Japan, anywhere, Eddie Kingston has potential to be one of the biggest babyfaces we have ever seen in this industry, because he is a combination of so many people who are just beloved, right? He's part Dusty Rhodes. He's part Mick Foley. He's the classic underdog story. Like, and I think I tweeted this out too. In a world where all wrestling fans know that wrestling is quote unquote fake, he's the only dude that feels real.
Yeah.
Like, there's no character there between Eddie Kingston, or seemingly no character there between Eddie Kingston the person and Eddie Kingston the character. Yeah, it all feels real.
It's a very blurred line, like where it's real cut and dry with a lot of folks.
Yeah,
it's not with him. It seems that's why I was asking you last week on the show. I was like, do you think he really hates Claudio?
Yeah, and
just I just thought maybe he really fucking hates Claudio.
The fact that you even have to ask that just shows how much of a genius this dude is. And how much people, when he is on screen, are willing to just believe in the story and just lose themselves in it.
I think they'll probably get back to him versus Mox at some point again, right?
Well, you know, Eddie's doing the G1, so he'll be off AEW television for a little bit. But is this setting up? Is AEW's? Are they setting up Kingston and John Moxley for Moxley to put over Eddie, so that Eddie can then be the one that dethrones MJF? Is this where we're headed?
Eddie, if you'll remember, was one of the people in the beginning of the year when we're like, okay, well, MJF's going to have a few feuds between now and next year when he loses the belt. Who do we have? And he had Ricky Starks. We called Ricky Starks already. Eddie was one of the people that we mentioned.
Yeah. And it's like, it's right there. The story writes itself.
Yeah.
The snobby dude who's always had the golden spoon in his mouth going up against the dude who's had to scrap and claw for everything he's gotten.
Who almost sold his fucking boots right before AEW signed him.
Yeah. And I mean, the promos that those two guys can have together. And again, we talk about this all the time. Like, AEW needs to try to be different. They need to be different from WWE. They don't need to be... Every company has failed in wrestling because they've tried to be like WWE. Fucking TNA tried to be like WWE. And it does not work. What those guys do over there, they're the only ones that can do. So if I'm AEW, what can I do? Well, I can present a dude like Eddie Kingston who feels as real gets, does not look like a superstar, you know, looks like the fucking dude that works down at the mechanic shop down the road and has one too many beers and fucking is probably, you know, the sheriff's probably looking for him, and you know, you got a story where somebody's like, oh, he beat the shit out of my brother one time. Like, that's what Eddie Kingston is. And I think there's a real utility in AEW to try to run in that direction as much as you possibly can. And I think he will draw some people in. I really do.
Yeah. he's the kind of story that Jamie doesn't watch AEW with me, but I feel like if they could put him on a run, he's the kind of guy that I think could draw him in, just story wise.
Yeah. There are very few guys in wrestling, even today, but even you go back even historically, who, when they're on screen, your eyes can't help but go to them. And that usually isn't the first indication of, oh, this person has it. You know, we talk about it all the time. No one really knows what it is. You just know it when somebody has it. He's got it.
Yeah.
And so now it's kind of a mark on AEW that the first major title that Eddie wins, he wins it in a different promotion in a different country.
Right.
I mean,
and we find out about it on Twitter.
You know, some work there for AEW to do, but maybe they are holding off because the bigger story is yet to be told.
Yeah.
One can hope.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that because Jonathan Coachman tweeted something a couple days ago about ratings and this, that, and the other, and failing ratings because Collision was down like way, way low.
Yeah,
this weekend. You know, there was no Punk match. It was 2 hours after a 3.5 hour Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah.
No big deal. Whatever. It's fine. Because there'll be a lot of eyeballs on it this week for Samoa Joe and Punk.
Yeah.
Those numbers will pop back up.
Yeah.
But Coachman kind of was giving AEW shit. And Dax was like, hey, we're building a brand here.
Yeah.
Like, shit's going to happen, and it's not going to be all sunny and roses for like 3 weeks straight. Like, you know, trust the process, basically. He was like, people that are in this locker room want to be here, and, you know, it's going to be worth it, basically.
Yeah, which is, you know, goes back to something that we've said quite a bit, which is like how far AEW is going to go is solely dependent on how good the creative is.
This is another thing. I didn't have it in my notes, but I just saw it about an hour before you came over, that apparently Malachi Black asked to only be on Collision moving forward.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is interesting because he was like, you know, there's a chance you could see me on Wednesday. There's a chance you could see me on Friday. There's a chance you could see me on Saturday. But he was like, if you were tuning into all of that thinking, well, maybe he'll show up, he was like, you're going to get tired of that at some point, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly what he said, but he was like, if they know they might see Malachi Black on Saturday, they're way more likely to tune in to just that. And I thought that was kind of smart.
Yeah.
Now, whether Tony Khan allows him to do that is a different story, but I think it's smart.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, Collision, the ratings are only going to get worse once football season starts.
Right.
I mean, that's part of the, you know, that's why, you know, I speculated, is this really only, did Warner Brothers kind of give this spot to AEW just so they could go to a football conference 3 years from now and be like, hey, we programmed live TV at Saturday nights at 7, and here's what the ratings were. Now imagine what, you know, we would do when we bring your brand in here and it's, you know, a Power 5 football conference. I don't know. You know, I don't know how all that stuff works, but
It's going to be interesting to see.
We shall see, yes. But in the meantime, we will keep enjoying Roman Reigns. We will keep enjoying Hollywood CM Punk, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
We got Blood and Guts coming up too. We're gonna figure out who the
because both teams are going to be down a fifth person. So yeah, interesting. I guess we'll find that out sooner rather than later. Y'all, if you don't follow us already, we're on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Alabama Slam Pod. For whatever reason, our TikTok numbers have been going up quite a bit in terms of followers. We haven't really pushed that. We've gotten a ton of people, not a ton for us, because our meager little social media numbers. We're doing pretty well over there. It's funny to watch how all that stuff plays out, because like those same video I'll post it to Twitter gets like 0 reaction.
Well, we don't pay Daddy Musk $8 a month, and so
true.
people don't see our shit.
Well, I don't pay shit on TikTok either, so
Well, TikTok's all about the Chinese government wants as many people on it as possible so they can steal everybody's information. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly, that's what happened.
And we're on Facebook or just search for the Alabama Slam Podcast.
But they ain't nothing but old people on Facebook.
Yeah, it's
so.
all olds.
Everybody's aunt that posts right-wing memes.
If you're an old, get on there and follow us, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all check it out. And we've got a network of other folks at the AlabamaTake.com with other podcasts. There's Taking It Down, a weekly pop culture podcast. Check Your Shelf podcast is a monthly book podcast by my lovely wife. Taking on Sports. It's every other week, a sports podcast. There's a new sports podcast. My cousin Mallory launched her teaser trailer this week. Her show is going to be called The Stare Down. And then the third season of This Song Sucks is active at the moment as well. So follow the Alabama Take on all the socials also if you don't already. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Later, guys.